What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I just watched a movie called Fast X, starring Vin Diesel, of course, Charlize Theron, and Jason Momoa. First of all, well, in tradition of all the Fast and Furious movies that came out, and all the villains they've had, and this everybody they fight that turns into their friends the next time they see them, I just had to talk about my top 7 most memorable villains in an action movie. Okay, it had to be done sooner or later. All right, this is very important that I discuss this, especially with the arrival of a new villain for this one, Dante Reyes. Okay, I gotta talk about this because in 1985, Commando came out. All right, this is the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and the villain that's in the question is Bennett. Bennett, the reason I'm bringing up Bennett, and it's not because, it's the first one. All these movies I do, these things I do, are in chronological order, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Okay, so it's not that. It's just the reason that Bennett is one of the first villain fights. And let me quote this or say this right now. If you haven't seen this movie, spoiler alert, you might want to fast forward to the next one. Okay? Really quick. Okay. Bennett is one of the first villain fights that I ever saw that the antagonist or the protagonist took a large pipe and slammed it right through the villain. Okay, it went through the stomach and went out the back. Exactly what you think happened. All right, and that was just the craziest way to end a boss fight I've ever known. I don't think I've ever seen something like that since. All right, not in that multitude, that altitude. All right, with that high level of I just don't care about what happens to this bad guy. That was so violent and brutal, and I loved it at the age that I was in 1985. Okay, so it'll always be an epic way to take out the bad guy in my brain. In 1986, Cobra came out. Of course, Sylvester Stallone saw that Arnold Schwarzenegger had his movie starting with a C word and had to get his movie starting with a C word, right? And the villain at question is Night Slasher. Not just this movie, the actor that plays Night Slasher in anything he's ever played in, he's had this face, which is naturally his face, that makes you think they went ahead and they took this guy out of prison and put him in this movie. And Cobra must be probably his autobiography. I mean, his biography. Straight up. And you're very convinced that this man does evil stuff outside of movies. Just from the way he looks. It is a very creepy face. All right, I'm not saying I'm the best looking person in the world. I'm just saying that this guy has an unsettling look. And every time he was on the scene, I was scared. Especially at the age I was watching that. I was creeped out. I couldn't wait for this villain to be defeated. Okay? Couldn't wait. Then in 1987, The Running Man came out. Now, not only is there a good villain in this movie, you gotta remember, it was a book first from Stephen King, of all people. Then then they made an adaptation for the film. It's just crazy. I keep forgetting that that's the situation going on with that. But also, there's the villain, Damian Killian. Now, Damian Killian is not really a physical threat. It's more of a mental threat. He was a game show host of the very violent, bloody show. All right. And it's the way that he introduced the characters that had to come out and fight Arnold Schwarzenegger. He also liked to play mind games with Arnold throughout the entire movie. And it's that game show host from hell. All right. It's another level of Family Feud. The violent years. All right. And he's doing it. He did it all through the entire movie until he met his end. All right. So I commend the character for that. Then in 1994, The Professional came out. Now, you know this is my favorite action movie. It's tops. It's tops. You know, Kill Bill is next. Kill Bill is the number 2. But this is number 1. You know it. Come on. You see the background. You see the background. Okay, so from the top, just a stellar movie. A stellar movie. The villain, played by Gary Oldman, known as Norman Stansfield. Norman Stansfield is a very intense villain, okay? He was one of those villains that had the nervous tick. Like when something wasn't going his way, you could tell that he's about to go off. He's about to get very crazy. All right. And Norman and Gary Oldman is just so good at playing villains all together that it came like nature to him in this role. All right. There's also this very intense scene where he's like, kill everybody. And when he said that, you can hear the vibration. You can feel the vibration of his voice roll throughout that room and across the screen where you're watching. You're not even in the movie. You can still feel that vibration, that anger. All right. That he doesn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care. He had a whole family murdered. It's crazy. He's definitely your ideal of villain. Okay. It was just to the point to where his henchmen were like, man, we weren't getting paid to do this. And they weren't great people either. But we weren't getting paid to do this. We think that our boss would need some help. Come on now. Then in 1995, Desperado came out. Okay, now, the thing about this, the villain for this one isn't actually like the final boss type villain that I thought was great. Okay, we're talking about Danny Trejo as Navajas. Okay, now Navajas gets the props because this man had all knives on him. No guns, just knives. So he went through so many men just to get to Desperado. And everybody else had guns. They say you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. But he proved everybody wrong that day. All right, he totally proved us wrong until he met his end, and he couldn't hold it up anymore. Of course, if you haven't seen this movie, please go see it. Please go see it. That little scene with him was phenomenal. All right. Then in 2003, Kill Bill came out. I'm doing a 2-part for this one. I got 2 villains in mind for this because it's a volume 1 and volume 2. So you just can't say one villain. With all the villains in here, you just can't say one villain was outstanding. Let me explain. On one half, we have Yabari. Yabari was that chain-wielding little girl that you didn't know what to expect from. Okay? For her being so young, she was such a beast. She was so cold. In certain scenes where she just she gutted somebody, or, I don't think she quite gutted them. It was another kind of gut, but we're not going to talk about that. We just know that she did that to somebody else, okay? And to have her introduction like this, I was nervous to see how that fight was going to go between her and the bride. All right. I knew it was going to be bloody at least, brutal at the best. And it was. It was a great, intense fight, until it was the end of that. But yeah, in a physical aspect of it, she was good for that villain. Then on the other end, we have Bill, the main man himself. Now, Bill didn't physically wow us, even though he was skilled. We never got to see those skills really. All right? But Bill was he was king gaslighter. All right? He was always calm, and never nervous, and he tried to get into the bride's head in a way that, would mess anybody up. He used their daughter as sort of like a shield that maybe she wouldn't attack if the daughter's there. But the bride, luckily the bride is smarter than that, and she waited it out. All right. Now, you haven't seen this movie either. What are you doing? What are you doing? All right. Because that ending was crazy. That end was not only crazy, at the same time, a little poetic, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, his villain was good for that. Rest in peace, David Carradine, if I haven't said that yet. All right. Then last but not least, in 2007, Shoot 'Em Up came out. The one to look out for here is Hertz. Okay, played by Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti, for the most part, before I saw this movie, he was just that guy that played difficult characters. All right, jerks at the most. All right, I never knew he could go to this level until he just did it. This villain was just that sick, demented person that you don't see it at first, but once you start having conversations with this guy, you start to notice the oddness and the weird questions he's asking and just how calculating he is. All right. And then you're going to wish that you never talked to this person. All right. And if you have time, you want to back away and distance yourself from this person as far as you can. If you have time. Because if you get too deep into the conversation, it's already over. That's what kind of villain he was. And that made him such a great villain for this. This will forever, in my eyes, be Paul Giamatti's best role. And now we have Dante Reyes. Okay. And my question is, will Dante Reyes get his part in the top 7 action villains? We're about to find out. Let's go. Fast X. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, I say this every time. Every time a Fast and Furious movie comes out. Should I even say it anymore? I shouldn't. I'm just going to tell you this. You know by now, they will never stop making these movies. So there's always going to be trailers about this. Sooner or later, there will be movies in 3024 with the great grandson of Dom. All right, so don't no, you're getting penalized. I'm not even gonna think twice about that. You're penalized already. Fast X is pretty much about coming off of kind of part 9. Just a little bit. Not really, but kind of. Okay? And everybody's just kind of chill now. There's kind of no worries and, nothing to worry about. So they think. And all that is interrupted when somebody from their past, of course, comes back for that revenge. All right, because they thought this person was gone. It was an old mission with Brian and Dom, and they fought the guy's father. They fought his father, defeated him, thought things were cool. I guess they didn't see that Dante was somewhere in the mist. Okay, they forgot about Dante, and now Dante's back, and he's blackmailing everybody, kidnapping family members, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and acting like he's the new Samoan Joker. Whatever. All right. So now they have to figure out how to get rid of this crazy guy. All right. And that's the premise of the movie. Not too much explanation for that, right? Positives. The intense fight scenes. Okay. It didn't disappoint in that area. All right, you got to see some good fight scenes from Charlize Theron. You got to see it from Dom, of course. You got to see it from characters that you kind of guess were gonna pop up in this movie. All right, I don't want to say too much on the characters, but you kind of just know. If you've been watching this whole time, you kind of can just figure out who's gonna pop up. All right, and the scenes were crazy. You got people shooting at the floor and pushing people back at the same time. At the same time, they're killing people below them while they're killing people above them. So it's just crazy stunts like that were so interesting and just pull you in. And it's like how outrageous can it get? I'm not talking about the outrageous part. We'll get into that in a minute. But just how intense can these fights get? All right, and you want to see more and more and more as you go on. Which leads me to the ridiculous stunts. This time around, those ridiculous stunts that we get from the Fast and Furious movie franchise are not going to be a negative. You know why? Because that's the only reason I go to watch these movies. And they didn't disappoint this time. They never disappoint. And that's the only thing that's keeping me going with this franchise. You have Dom playing soccer ball with a bomb and a car. All right, he hit that ball out the park by just maneuvering his car and twisting it and just slapping it out the field. No one can do that. No one, that is not physically possible. But somehow Dom completed that task. And of course, I laughed. I laughed so hard at that. And that's what I enjoy about these movies. That's what that keeps me alive on these films, not everything else. But and so if you're looking for that all over again, you're definitely gonna get that with this film. Okay, just outrageous stuff going on. There's other things that go on. I don't want to mess it up for you. You need to go see it to see those things. They're just unexplainable. They're almost unexplainable. Especially with Dom. Dom is just the king of this. All right, for some reason, he's the king of ridiculousness. It just keeps going on and on. My last positive: the new villain is hilarious. All right. Actually, Dante Reyes has two sides to him. He has a dueling side. He has a good part of what makes him him, and then there's the negative side of his villain. I'll get to that in a minute. But for the good part, it was refreshing to have a villain who actually had a sense of humor. All right. He kind of livened it up when he came to the scene every time he introduced himself over and over again. And he was cold. He was very smart. The way that he made his decisions and way he chose to do things. Everything was premeditated for him. Everything was premeditated. He had years to plan. So everything was, going by his time. Not everybody else's time. It was on his time. It made everybody else feel kind of, helpless. Nice. Negatives. Enough with the AI characters. All right. I'm not going to say too much, that's going to hurt this movie. But if you've seen this entire franchise already, you know. If you're not the entire franchise, I'm sorry. If you've seen the movies leading up to this, then you already know that they've attempted a couple of times to bring people back in that they really shouldn't have even done. Okay, it's getting disrespectful. It's not funny anymore. It's not cool to me. It's ridiculous at this point. Please stop doing that. All right, stop. Let certain people rest. Let certain people rest. You know who I'm talking about. All right, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All right. Paul. Let Paul rest. Okay? That's creepy. That's creepy. If anything, that's so creepy. It's got to stop. AI in general is getting a little out of range. It's getting a little loose with AI. They're doing a little too much with AI now. And I'm not liking it. I'm not loving it at all. Please stop that. All right? Another negative. The villain ran his course. All right, yes, he's funny. And yes, he livened up the room when he came in every time. But it gets to a point where I ask myself, how much more of this can I take? Because there was some silly parts where I don't know if he was trying to be the next Joker or what. It just wasn't working. It's just like they gave Jason Momoa the okay to be like, okay, well, there's a script, but don't worry, Jason. You don't have to go by the script. Just say what you want to say, Jason. You're Jason Momoa. We love you. You're Jason Momoa, man. You can do no wrong. Just do what you want to do, Jason Momoa. And he ran with that. Of course he ran with that. All right? What do you think he was going to do? I don't think he even had a script. It got stupid. The jokes started to get not funny. Even the little kid, Dom's son is in this movie. Of course, you saw him, you know it was coming. Dom's son's in this movie, and Dom's son, a little kid, did not think that was funny. After a while, the jokes were getting stale. And he was like, I'm 6 or 7 or however old he is, and I don't think that's funny. You suck. Everybody could agree with that after a while. Third negative. Stupid one-liners. So not only was the villain just kind of starting to crash and burn, everybody else was. Everybody else was just saying dumb stuff, especially Roman. Tyrese, I know he's stupid, but he took the cake in this one. Other characters did too. They're not out of the mix, but Roman just was he was the king of dumb one-liners in this, and it started to get unbearable, to say to say the least. I've heard some dumb things that they said in the past movies, but it's getting worse and worse. I think the writers definitely on strike with this one. My last negative. I am tired of the Goku Effect. The Goku Effect is this, if you don't know. Goku has a tendency to become friends with everybody he fights. All right? Sooner or later, they're going to become his partner in crime. His person he fights side by side with sometimes, all right? When they used to be the ones he used to fight. And they're doing this so much with this movie franchise now. It's getting irritating, and you're predicting everything that's going to happen now. You kind of predict every time you have a new villain, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, they're going to be cool next time. And that's tiresome. But I got to give this an I. Yes, I'm giving this an I. We shall see by the next episode if I can change that up. And there's a reason I'm saying that. I can't say it. I'll spoil. Press that like button, subscribe, and you better share it.